Welcome to another episode of Racing to Learn. We are a nonprofit that uses radio control to get kids excited about math and science. We are working on our Tekno SCT410.3 today. We've been cranking on this over time, just getting it ready for a bash with some friends. Just to review some of the changes, actually, you can go ahead and see the whole playlist for all the videos on this truck in the video description. We've done a lot to this. Namely, it comes as a short course truck. We wanted to turn this into a 1/10 scale monster truck, so we threw on some bigger tires. These are the Proline Trencher 2.8 inch wheels and tires, and we put on a body brace. We've used these clevis pins. This is a trick you could see in our previous video as well, but just to raise the body a little bit more and have a more durable metal mounting posts there. What we're going to cover in this episode is the rear shocks. Now the front, we bought this used. The front was very adequately set up, right? The previous owner had the green springs. You can just see, like, whenever you have springs, just different weights, meaning different stiffness of the spring or whatnot are indicated by colors by the manufacturer, so you can get the pounds or whatever the actual spec is. But there were greens on the front and just the stock springs on the rear, and you can see these are more tightly coiled because I have it set on full preload. Even at the full going as far down as this collar will go, the adjustable collar, it was just still feeling very squishy. Actually being used too, you could see these are the old two rear shocks. One's got a aluminum cap, one doesn't, and actually the front two have the emulsion build caps on there as well. Not sure why he just upgraded one, but he had a couple of Teknos. Maybe one broke or whatnot. But anyways, we swapped these out and are borrowing the front shocks from our Tekno NT48. So you'll notice I've taken these off. We actually even debated whether we could swap the whole suspension over, the front suspension at least. One interesting thing is that we actually bought this truck first with the intention of swapping it to electric. We had called Tekno and asked, hey, has anybody run 3.8 inch tires on an SCT410.3? And they said no, but you could try. And this is before the MT410 came out, which is their 10th scale monster truck that basically is an SCT410.3 chassis with the truggy, basically all the truggy drivetrain, right? Meaning the front diffs, rear diffs, A-arms, driveline, etc., which is pretty cool. So I'm not sure if we inspired them to go to market with that, but it was what we were trying to do way back when. This truck has sat on the shelf for a little bit. Actually, both of these trucks, we ended up getting this one, thinking about going short course racing, but discovered it wasn't really for us. The track is fun and all, but we love being in the outdoors and just bashing, having fun. So one interesting thing is, the Tekno vehicles share a lot of common parts, right? Actually, the diff cases are exactly the same between the truggy and the SCT. Actually, all the Tekno vehicles, the 10th and 8th scale ones, or actually, I should take that back because now they have the EB410, but the SCT410, the EB48 SL. All those trucks and buggies and whatnot use the same, as well as the ET and the NT48s use the same actual plastic gearbox enclosures, right? So you can actually swap them around. It was great when Dollar Hobbies sold a lot of these parts. They've since stopped. Not sure what happened there. But one thing interesting to note is that the electric vehicles use the same differential front and back, whereas the nitro ones do not. You can see how the rear diff is offset to the left here, right? It's not in the center like on this truck. So anyways, long story short, we were even thinking of, hey, since the front and rear differential cases are the same, could we just grab this whole front suspension and throw it on there? Because again, that truggy rear diff is different, but the front one is the same. So, you know, that would give us a wider track, a much wider track you could see here. So, you know, we'd have to change the outdrive cups for the differential, and, you know, the dog bone situation, we'd have to figure that out because those are different sizes between the truggies and the SCT. But just some interesting musings we had, and you might see something like that in the future. We decide to Frankenstein a little more. But for the time being, we've just borrowed the shocks. Back to that subject. So the front shocks on the truggies are actually really close. You know, it's like a couple of millimeters there, right? You can see the rod ends there. I'm lining them up. So it just gives us a little bit more suspension travel on these, or on the rear. So we're going to use, you know, we're going to replace the rear shocks on the SCT with the front shocks from the truggy, which is pretty cool. Love the construction of these shocks. These shocks the Tekno shocks are pretty legendary. You can actually see some changes here between the generations because, you know, this is a .3 SCT410.3. This is an original NT48, so a .1. And you can see the collars on the shocks actually are retained on the .3s. They're not, you know, they're just your standard. Another reason we want to switch over to these is that you know, the previous owner didn't run the boots. He was just running on a clay track, so didn't feel the need. We're going to be running out in the elements, so we definitely want those rubber boots on there. So that's an added bonus. I broke open this other shock. The previous owner of the truggy had you know, had switched out the fluid, taken real good care of it, cleaned it up. Even there was a little bit of dust, but pretty much other than that, it's ready to go. I was just going to give this one a once over before I popped it in as well. You know, one trick here is that the bottom of the shock, right, has these grooves in it. So you can actually take a 17 millimeter wrench, put it on around there to hold the shock body, so you can twist the cap off. I just lined mine with some masking tape just to not mar the anodized finish on the shock body. But you can see that the clearance, the manufacturing clearances were so tight that it even wore off the masking tape that I put on here. So, you know, at least one side was protected. It didn't end up marring the body. Anyways, so we'll crack the second one open. Another trick that I learned is that, you know, the shocks are kind of held in at the bottom by pressure as well. Like the ball joint here is actually kind of clearance, or what do they call it? Interference fitted. Like it actually pops in there and you have to pop it out. So one thing that helped was using this small 6 millimeter wrench, just the round end of this, and actually just using it. I probably could show you over here. Right, pushing up through the arm to pop the rod end out. You know, you can yank on it too, but you know, that puts pressure on the pistons and whatnot inside the shock body. So you know, always better to reduce that wear and tear. So using a 6 millimeter wrench. You'll also want where's my 8 millimeter wrench? Actually, sorry, that was my 8 millimeter. You want to use a 6 millimeter to help you pop out the rod ends. You'll want an 8 millimeter wrench too, to put around the shock standoffs, right? This is actually 8 millimeters. You'll see it's a little bit hard to see on the camera there, but it's actually kind of oval or circular with grooves cut into it that are 8 millimeters. So you have to use a wrench in here to hold that in order to disassemble, or, you know, take off the shock, or else the nuts on both sides will just spin each other. So keep that in mind. When you tighten it, of course, you know, everything's tightening, but when you're loosening it, one side will loosen, etc. So Let us know what you guys think in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.